What's going on, everybody? This is Robert with Bug-Me TV and RV Mobile Rescues. So it's been a while since we've been working on a project for the solar system, and today we're hoping to change all that. We're going to start working on some of the wiring. So you can see here, these are the combiner and splitter boxes for the 120 volt. Got some lugs. And then we have the wiring that we've done up to this point. This is actually going to change. And you can see here I've got some bus bars, and the whole point of this is going to be to hook this wiring to the bus bars to create a parallel setup rather than daisy chaining them. It will give us some more consistency with the power distribution, and there's some other benefits there as well. Another thing that we're also going to do is in this box, I have some circuit breakers that I'm going to hook up to each of the batteries. And you can see here, I'll flip it around for you. You can see that these are some pretty heavy duty breakers. And I've actually got 4 of the 200 amp, so one for each battery, because each battery can output 200 amps max continuous. And then I have 2 300 amp, and those will be used for the individual lines going up and over to each of these inverters. Now the inverters themselves can only handle a max of 140 amps, so I'm going to be way overprotected on the wiring and on the circuit protection for the batteries. The breaker over here will trip way before the breakers over here, but just in case there's an arc fault or something like that in the wiring, it's not going to melt. Each of the breakers can trip, and it should protect everything just fine. So come along with us and watch us redo some of the work we already did. So one thing that I want to note to people out there that might be considering these particular batteries, the wall-mounted Vatra batteries. These are excellent batteries, and they have a lot of capacity at 48 volt. However, there is a huge difference between this wall-mounted battery and its counterpart that is a server rack mounted. That being that the server rack battery has a circuit breaker installed directly on the battery. This guy does not, which is part of the reason why I'm putting an external breaker on each battery. However, another thing to note, and I'm hoping that Vatra will actually see this video and make a change inside their system. A lot of battery systems, when you actually put it in standby mode or turn it off, there's no longer voltage coming from the terminals. However, on this particular battery, when you put the meter on it, and you may have seen it from one of my prior videos, there is actually voltage coming out of these. So you need to be very careful when you're hooking these up to make sure you're not crossing any wires or touching the 2 terminals together with a single wire, because it is dangerous voltage and you can potentially have a life-changing event. So make sure you're very careful when you're doing this. Make sure you test for power and be very careful. Make sure you're wearing electrical rated gloves, and these are 400 volt rated as well. So make sure you're wearing proper protection to protect yourself. So here's the breakers that we're working with, folks. We got the 200 amp breakers, and then we have the 300 amp breakers. Each one of these is going to go to a battery, and these are going to be the ones that control the lines going over to the inverters. First thing for safety, make sure when you're hooking these up that they are in the tripped position, so that the power from the battery cannot get through to your loads over to the inverter. You don't want to run the risk of getting an arc or anything like that, so just keep it open. It just makes it easy. Even if the battery is off, the battery does still have voltage, so you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself, and you want to do that on both sides. But this will also allow me to take batteries out of the mix if I need to. I can just trip the battery that I want to trip, and I can do whatever I need to do, and then I can simply turn that back on. Okay, so now we've got the old battery wires all disconnected under here, and now we just need to figure out our fitment, change a couple of connectors because we're going to go with 90-degree lugs on coming off the battery, and then we're going to go into the circuit breaker, and then from the circuit breaker into the bus bar. So we have to check and see which ones of these actually can be reused, which ones need to be cut, and then which ones we need new ones on. So that's the next step. There we go. Give me a smile. Okay, so we've got the positive bus bars hooked up. We got the wire running all the way down here. Now I haven't put anything in here to clean this up, so when it gets down to the bottom, it goes a little loopy wampus. But you can see here, I got all of my breakers coming off of each of these, and they are the same length, which is important, right?
Left.
So we're gonna call it quits for today on this part, and we'll pick it up tomorrow and start doing the negative side, because we still have another bus bar right here. It's got to be installed. And then I'm going to have to order more wire to go from these bus bars over to the inverters. And those will not be the pretty blue wire like I've got in there now. It'll just be standard red and black. But so we'll see you guys here. And just for you guys, it'll be just a quick snap of the fingers, and it'll be tomorrow. So, and just like that, folks, we now have positive and negative wires running to each of the batteries. We have a breaker right here on each battery. Things have been zip tied and secured with screws where needed to keep things isolated. And then right up the center, I've got the positives and the negatives coming up to the bus bars. And then I'll be able to take, I have 2 studs left on each one. I can create the pairs and bring them all the way over here to this door. And then on the back, we'll bring it right across those hinges and bring it out the bottom where they can hook to the EG4s. And then right over here is where the combiner boxes will go to connect to that transfer switch, which is right there. So that's it for this segment today, because it's a little hot. I'll come back out once the rest of the positive wire shows up, the extra spool, so that I can run these lines over to the EG4, and then we'll get the whole DC system finished and hooked up to the EG4s, and then we can move on to the AC side. Need to get some serrated washers. Because the regular screw is not going to work for this.
It's got to have teeth to bite into the frame.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Should be. It doesn't have to be huge. Definitely we'll have to clean it with
Alcohol.
Yeah, alcohol to expose it, but a little bit more. But yeah, that's should be more than enough. Because the washer's only going to be X size. Let's see.
Yeah, he's about a ½ inch from the edge of the inverter.
This guy like here. So put one there. Okay. This guy's going to be small. It's the comm wires. That's the PV wires. Okay. So that's what I need. Now I just need a straight edge to make sure that when I cut these, they're all a straight freaking line. Go this way. Okay, so here, there. Okay. Put this over here. And I have go over here and do this side. The mighty supervisor supervising.
And having breakfast.
Having breakfast?
Well, breakfast-ish.
Remember.
Technically, it's a morning snack. So, no project is ever without an additional trip to Lowe's. We have to go to Lowe's for these things.
Yep. Gotta get...
In order to finish our DC side wiring.
Yeah. See here, got our wires, got them all crimped and everything ready to go. But as you saw, the drill that we're using is only 12 volt, and it doesn't have that capability to do it.
It doesn't have the cojones.
Yes, I don't want to blow up my drill. So we're just gonna go get a 24 volt because we have a lot of cobalt stuff, and I have an impact wrench but not a drill. So we're just gonna go pick one of those up. That way we can use the batteries we've already got, and we got some grounding goodies we gotta get so we can run the ground wires for the batteries. And what other goodies did we have on that list?
The grommets that you have to order for the inverter wiring, and then we, need to drop off our laundry because the project won't get done if we're sitting doing our laundry, and the cost of doing it so we can complete our project is well worth it.
None of our viewers are going to care about our laundry, but you never know.
Hey, when a consumer is executing on a project, they're like, well, what's in the budget? What's not?
Can you smell us from there? Can you smell us from there?
Anywho, things like that need to be considered. My time is money, and the money that I spend on the laundry services is worth being able to get this project done.
Eventually. So, off to Lowe's we go. In compromised positions, don't you? It's like, yeah. Okay, these guys are good. Okay, so now I should have enough room if I can get out of here. Ugh. To test this, there should be enough room. So I'm gonna close this. Oh yeah, there's plenty of. Yeah, because there's the terminals right there, so I got plenty of room there. So that'll allow me to keep that off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For now, it can just stay like this. Because until we get those cups, I don't want to go through the harassment of loosening this.
Yeah.
I got to loosen this, put it up in there, tighten it down. I also have these, which I can run if I want to.
When
the cups, yeah, I can run these once the cups show up. Because it's basically port 2 to port 1, and then port 2 to port 1 to basically make it a parallel configuration as the first and last in the setup. But yeah, bus bars are all installed. The wire is all tied up along the frame. There's a little bit of slack up in there. Yeah,
so here we are again in the bay and working on finalizing the DC side of things and working on getting the PV wire run down and set up in the breakers. There's a lot of wasted space in RVs. A lot of it.
So now you can open up that door and you can show just how much easy access we have to the solar.
Looky. Gotta get my finger out of the shot. I always do that. Okay. So, what do you have to say about all of the work going on in the bay, sir? Sir? Are you paying attention to me? No? Supervisor Cat? And now, we're back on the roof. We've replaced our vent cap, put the butyl on there, run our PV wire up. We had to run it through the pipe because, as you can see, there's really no gap between this pipe coming up through the RV. And we get down to the bay, I'll show a little bit closer view of the exterior wall where this is sitting. It's literally the thickness of Luan. That there's no room for us to have run these wires up through there on the side, so we chose to run it through the pipe, which wasn't an easy task, but it is now done. Getting everything all sealed up.
Yeah, because that's important.
Because that is important, yes. And before we can attach this,
I want to actually put
I have to get one of the screws because I threw everything down there.
What?
Yeah.
It's bad. Why would you do that?
And then I will bring a screw back up so we can screw it down. Crazy person.
Person wasn't the word I was thinking of.
This is not that kind of channel. So, there's that.
So there's that.
And those wires are done. Now we will do down in the bay. Lunch. Lunch.
Time to run some com cables. Run com cables. Because for our next magic trick is these guys.
Breaker boxes.
Breaker.
Breaker boxes.
Yep. Solar PV disconnects. Or PV disconnects, whatever. It's a breaker. Then we will move on to plugging the hole that we have left, that we drilled from the disconnect, and all that jazz. Oops.
Head bonking going on over here.
Where's the socket piece? Please and thank you. So now she can give herself a close-up. Now we'll get out of the way. As you can see here though, this is our front white and the red in the back from earlier in the video. And these guys are going to go into the breakers, going to come out the back, and then they're going to come across here and down and into the inverters. There we go. Okay, so now that is in there. There's enough slack to open him up. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'll just basically have to bend that out like that. And just like that, the solar wiring on the roof is now done. You can see here the new pipe jack that we put in. Everything's been sealed off. I used UV coated wire loom to protect all the wires so that they would blend into the roof all the way around. And then I also have 15 amp inline fuses on each string, because each string is just under 14 amp. So I've got a 15 amp inline fuse up top on each string going down into the PV disconnect breakers. But there you go, folks. Top is done. Now let's head back down and finish up the PV wiring on that breaker into the EG4. Okay, back down below. The breakers are all wired up now. Everything's been tested. I'm pulling with the sunshine about 175 to 180 volts on the front array, and on the back I'm pulling about 165 volts, which is about where it should be. You can see here, I have the comm cables, my battery, and my PV on both. I'm separating it out as a master-slave setup to kind of separate out that workload. I definitely want to separate out the workload. And over here, I'm on battery number 2, or 3 rather. Charging this guy up. He's at 94%. The other 2 are at 99. The charge verter can't go as high as the recommended shutoff for these batteries, which is 58.3 volts. The highest it can go is 57. So it's going to get it to about 99% all the way across the board, so they will line up. It's not ideal because I would prefer 100%, but I'm hoping that when we put the capacity and everything into the EG4s, when we configure them, that it'll make up the difference and get them to 100%. But if not, losing 1 amp hour on each of them is not going to be a horrible disaster. I'm still going to be able to run the rig for at least 9 to 10 hours with these 4 batteries without any intervention from the sun, the generator, shore power, etc. So we should still be good to go. But that's it for this particular segment. All the DC is now completely wired up. Stay tuned for our next video segment where we will be going through the AC setup, which is these combiner and splitter boxes, so that we can get that all wired up and ready to go for the final turnkey. And I also have to contact Signature Solar so that we can go ahead and get these guys configured, get the Wi-Fi dongles registered, and get them online so that I can use the desktop or laptop to configure things a little bit quicker than doing it from the front menu. So stay tuned.